Happy Monday, damnation. It is, you know, quite a time to be alive when there is so much loss, so much devastation, so much grief, um, and not a lot to celebrate, particularly as you take a look at what has transpired under Donald Trump's regime over the last 6 months. It has been a nightmare. And then on top of which, it just seems like everyone is passing away except evil people. All right, folks, it is Monday. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. Hello, friends. I start today's show with the awful breaking news that I'm sure all of you have heard, which is the passing of actor icon Malcolm Jamal Warner at the age of 54. You know, eh, Malcolm Jamal Warner, for those of us who, grew up on The Cosby Show, was like the brother that you never had. His character, Theo Huxtable, for all of the, drama and trauma and, that has surrounded The Cosby Show because of Bill Cosby, the show in and of itself is and was iconic. And the actors on that show, the ones that played the kids and Claire Huxtable, Felicia Rashad, they made the Cosby Show at a time when Black people and Black families were not readily seen, were not readily celebrated. They were in America's home. And so there was something really like devastating and like a gut punch today to have the alert come across my phone, as I'm sure it did everyone else's, about his passing. And he drowned while on vacation in Costa Rica with his family. And it's just, a tragedy. And it is always in tragedy where we're reminded that, life can change in the blink of an eye, that every day is not promised. We've been talking about that as the rise of autocracy, but there are accidents and, and horrible tragedies that unfold on a regular basis. And so I say that to live your fucking lives. Do you know what I'm saying? Grab life with two hands, and live it as big and as bold and as beautiful as you possibly can while you can, because tomorrow is not promised. And, and don't live your life with a pile of regret or I wish I could have done it, or one day I will. Um, Malcolm Jamal Warner, he grew up before our eyes and, incredible actor. And as far as all of the outpouring of love that is coming in, it seems like he was an incredible human as well. And so 54, way too fucking young to die. But I thank him for the laughter, for the iconic moments, for the love that I will remember from his time on The Cosby Show, and just other iconic moments in entertainment. So rest in power to Malcolm Jamal Warner. So where do we begin today in the chaos that is Donald Trump's America? There's a great piece that is out today at foreignaffairs.com that I wanted to walk through with all of you today, because I said, we're really not talking about these things a lot, which is how Donald Trump has torpedoed our alliances, has made America more unsafe, and that the moves that he is making are, I mean, just redefining America in all of the worst ways possible for generations to come. So Margaret McMillan writes, making America alone again. History offers few parallels for Washington's repudiation of its own alliances. It is an insight that appears to be lost on Donald Trump. Since returning to office in January, Trump has called the United States' closest allies cheaters and freeloaders. Japan and other Asian trading partners he insists are, quote, very spoiled. Immediate North American neighbors stand accused of exporting drugs and criminals. He freely and publicly labels the leaders of some of the United States' most important Democratic partners as has-beens, weak, or dishonest, while heaping praise on autocrats he finds easier to deal with, such as Hungarian President Viktor Orban, a very great leader, Salvadorian strongman Nayib Bukele, a great friend, North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, a smart guy, and at least until very recently, Russian President Vladimir Putin, whom he has called, quote, a genius and very savvy. In attacking Ukraine, and what would have been unthinkable in previous administrations, including Trump's first, the United States in February even sided against its own Democratic allies and with Russia and other authoritarian states, such as North Korea and Belarus, in voting against a UN resolution that condemned Russia's aggression against Ukraine and upheld the latter's sovereignty and territorial integrity. She goes on to write, the past offers plenty of examples of world powers falling out with erstwhile alliance partners or seeking new ones. But it's hard to think of a case in which the leader of a major alliance has so casually and brutally cast aside allies that, for the most part, have been dependable. My apologies. Have been dependable and have accepted its writ. If the United States wants Canadian or Greenlandic resources, those have always been available. Threatening annexion is counterproductive, stirring up anti-Americanism as it has already done. Washington's NATO alliances, it is true, have not been spending enough on defense, but that is partly because the United States has insisted for decades on having the dominant role. And when pressed, as at the recent NATO summit in June, members of the Transatlantic Alliance have increased their defense budgets or pledged to do so to levels that could not have been imagined only a few years ago. It is difficult to find a plausible explanation for the policies of the second Trump administration. Why? Because they're fucking bananas. If the president is impatient with existing alliances, he has offered few alternatives beyond an apparent attachment to the old concept of spheres of influence, in which a handful of powerful dominate their immediate neighbors and multilateral organizations, if they survive at all. Having little power or authority, such a world offers greater threats in the future to the United States as the other spheres, presumably including a Chinese-dominated Asia and perhaps a Russian zone in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, jostle against it, and smaller powers within each sphere either accept their fate, often resentful, or look for new hegemons. Folks, what this spells out very clearly is that Donald Trump has isolated America from its allies. He has turned our alliances into our enemies. He has made it so that the United States is now less safe as a nation. He has increased our national security threat and our international security threat with his 20th century thinking. Because that's what I've realized, folks, about Donald Trump and, going through the headlines every single day. And I talked about this a bit last week on the show, which is that when you look at the bullshit billionaire bill and you look at the regressive policies that are inside there, whether it's Xing out credits for green innovation, energy credits, and solar and wind, and fueling dirty coal and big oil. Everything that was in there was regressive. Nothing inside of that bill was future thinking or future proofing America or our interests. Donald Trump's policies are 20th century policies that are focused on the immediacy of how much money he can stuff into his pockets right now. Who cares about the future? Because guess what? This 79-year-old Kenkel candidate is not going to be around. And so it makes you wonder, like, when does greed stop guiding your life? And I guess when you're Donald Trump and the 1%, the answer to that question is fucking never. They'll never have enough. It's why I continue to say that they are absolutely insatiable. That trying to feed and satiate the rich is a fool's errand. I saw a meme over the weekend that said, either we can have an equitable future, or we can have billionaires, but we can't have both. And I think that that is absolutely right, because there is no way truly to ethically amass that kind of money, right? You're doing it off the backs of workers. You know that. You're doing it off of the ways in which you can buy politicians to do your bidding so that you get tax breaks, right? So that you get all the incentives, and everybody else, the masses, get nothing. And so when you look at this and you see the way that, that Donald Trump is moving, and the way that America is moving, America is reformulating the axis of evil with itself at the center. And in our lifetimes, folks, we have never understood ourselves. And look, there are many, many foreign affairs analysts and experts in other countries that would think otherwise. But I'm talking about the masses of Americans have never seen themselves as the bad guys, right? We've been indoctrinated into believing that we were the good ones. We go around the world like, championing democracy. Now we know, right, that as the rose-colored glasses have been cleared out for us, that like that kind of, I don't know, sugarcoating fantasy idea of America actually is not the truth. But what Donald Trump has done and managed to do in 6 months is solidify our roles as the new operators of the axis of evil. And the thing is, what is driving me crazy and should be driving everyone else crazy is that everything that he is doing is actually hurting America. And the people, the Republican Party that used to be fiscally responsible, used to care about constituents, no longer does. And what Waj and I said earlier today on Democracy-ish, which the video is live now on my YouTube page, so check it out. What we said earlier is that it should concern all of us that Republicans, even knowing that that big bullshit bill is polling in negatives, normally they would give a shit. Normally they would pivot because they need to get those votes for midterms. They need to hold on to their seats. But the fact that they are continuing to move forward means to me that they know that there either aren't going to be midterms or that their seats are pretty fucking safe because they know something about the lack of free and fair election like that we're going to have. So, I mean, just look at the numbers, right? Like, just look at this. U.S. economy set to lose $12.5 billion in international travel spend this year. For any other administration, the Obama administration, Biden administration, this kind of loss would be front page news. It would be everywhere. Oh my God, what has Biden done? He stumbled down the steps and now our economy is stumbling. You know what the rigmarole would be around any Democrat that had this kind of fucking headline during their administration. But with Donald Trump, it's like, oh, a shrug. And it shouldn't be. World Travel and Tourism Council, WTTC, and I've talked about this before. The global body representing travel and tourism private sector announced its latest economic impact research, which found that the U.S. is on track to lose a staggering $12.5 billion in international visitor spending this year. Notably, international visitor spending to the U.S. is projected to fall just under $169 billion this year, down from $181 billion in 2024. This significant shortfall represents a 22.5% decline compared to the previous peak. The loss won't be felt by travel and tourism alone. The WTTC is saying it represents a direct blow to the U.S. economy overall, impacting communities, jobs, and businesses from coast to coast. According to the study, the U.S., the largest travel and tourism sector in the world, is the only country among 184 economies analyzed by the WTTC, and the forecast to see international visitor spending decline in 2025. Folks, you know what this spells? Big fucking trouble. On top of the stagflation that we're already experiencing because of Donald Trump's bullshit tariff war, because of his fucking disgusting draconian immigration policies and the targeting of Black and brown people and throwing them in alligator Auschwitz and other places. Most recently in the news today, reports coming out of a Miami detention facility talk about the those that are confined there being forced to kneel and eat off plates like dogs. What the fuck does that sound like to you? Sounds like something straight out of CCOT that we all saw with our own fucking eyes and heard from Abrego Garcia's lawyers' mouths. But where will the lawsuits be? Where are the human rights violations? Where, like, they are going to continue to turn America into Germany, 1930s Germany, until the people have said, we've had a fuck enough. And apparently we haven't reached that place yet. But maybe we will soon. Plunging dollar leaves American travelers with less buying power this summer. The US dollar declines in the first half of the year against peer currencies was steepest in more than 50 years. Folks, where are the alarm bells? Where are all of the headlines and the fucking outrage around Donald Trump's torpedoing of the economy? And Waj had a great analysis on Democracy-ish earlier where he said, you know, this all works for the benefit of crypto bros. Destabilize the dollar to increase the investment value of crypto. But who the fuck owns crypto? Not a majority of Americans. This article goes on to say American tourists have grown accustomed to their dollars traveling well too. This summer, they are getting a wake-up call. The ICE U.S. dollar index, which compares the U.S. currency to a basket of 6 others, just posted its worst first half of the year in 50 years. The dollar has tumbled 13% against the euro this year and 6% against the yen. Where do you think that we are going to be in a year? This is where we are 6 months in. But what is remarkable to me is that there are still people stepping and fetching on fucking television for Donald Trump, trying to convince the rest of us that the man is somehow a wizard, somehow a genius when it comes. What kind of fucking genius has filed for bankruptcy 8 times? What kind of fucking genius bankrupts a casino? A casino. And so right now, while egg prices may not be in the news because for the moment, bird flu is under control, guess what else is going through the fucking roof? Ground beef prices reach record highs as warning issued. Ground beef prices across the U.S. continue to reach new highs, driven by shrinking cattle herds, with looming import restrictions threatening to push costs even higher. According to government data released last week, the average price of a pound of 100% ground beef rose to $6.12 last month, up from $5.98 in May and $5.47 in June of 2024. Experts have said this trend shows no signs of slowing, meaning there may be upward pressure on prices through 2026 and beyond. Quote, it might be at least 2 to 3 years before we would see any significant change on the supply side that would ultimately lead to some moderation in beef prices. What does that mean for families? Now, look, some will say, well, I guess become a vegetarian. Okay, not everybody's going to do that. But the fact is that decreased value in the dollar, your dollar no longer goes as far as it used to, higher prices, the jobless numbers, like wait until the jobs report comes out for this summer. Hundreds and thousands of Americans out of work, largely because of Trump's firing of the federal government. Nothing. And no one's coming here because why the fuck would you? This place is going to look like Russia by the end of the year. And it's only going to get worse because guess what? We're only 3.5 years into a supposed 4-year term. But trust me when I say Donald Trump ain't leaving. And unless, the stars align in some form or fashion, these fascists are locked in for a long time. Again, until the people decide we've had enough. So take a listen.
New this morning, more soaring prices at the grocery store, but it's not eggs draining your wallet this summer. The Department of Agriculture says the cost of beef is hitting record highs across the country. Let's go to CNN business and politics correspondent Vanessa Yurkevich. Vanessa, break down these numbers for us.
Yeah, the last time that Americans may have noticed sticker shock at the grocery store was when eggs were at record prices. Since then, they have come down because the avian flu, which was killing millions of birds, has been contained and supply is now back up. But it's a different story for beef. Just look at prices since January, up 9%. And beef is retailing at the grocery store for, on average, $9.26 a pound. And that is a dramatic increase since the beginning of the year.
Since the beginning of the year. And what coincides with the beginning of the year? Oh, that's right. Donald Trump coming back into power. I just don't know truly like the logic behind all of this. But when you listen to idiots like Bissett, one of Donald Trump's economic advisors, quote, newspapers like the Wall Street Journal are not used to a high functioning executive president. They are used to perhaps President Obama, who was not as economically sophisticated as Donald Trump. Show me, please, where the fucking economic sophistication is. Because I just ran the numbers and I don't see it. So do I need an economics degree? Or are you just blowing more smoke up our asses? I like the delusion that these people live inside of and try and pull us into on a regular basis. Oh, the Wall Street Journal's not used to a high functioning. Show us where the fucking high functioning is. It's certainly not coming from his ankles, not coming from the veins. What is high functioning on Donald Trump? He's not high functioning cognitively. You read a fucking transcript and you're like, who wrote this? Right? Like it makes no sense. You feel insane. But this entire universe that they have constructed, this alternative universe of crazy, tells us that Donald Trump is, this genius whose feet we all need to kiss because we can't even really imagine the Matrix style moves that he's been operating and doing with our economy. I mean, it looks like it's in the shitter because it is in the shitter. But yet somehow these people continue to go on news channels and tell us, don't believe your lying eyes, just believe the words that are coming out of my mouth. I just like, I tell you that some Mondays you just feel like out of it because you're like, how in God's name did we get here? Right? Did we get here where America is in a full-fledged nosedive and all you have are Republicans cheering that the plane isn't the plane magnificent? Isn't this ride fantastic? And we're headed into a fucking mountain. It's, it's wild. But, like I say, numbers don't lie. Trump hits a net 11 net approval, his lowest according to the most accurate pollster. So the latest polls show Donald Trump, if you look up here with Atlas, negative 11, Quantus Insights, -2, RMG, which I don't really know what that is, to be honest, but clearly it is a fucking outlier because it's at +4. I don't know what planet they're on. You have Rumson at -3, Big Data at -1, YouGov at -11, and I think that CNN here is at -12. So is everyone wrong? Right? Like, is everyone wrong? These are American people that are being asked, how are things going for you over there? And they're like, not fucking well. Who do you blame for that? Oh, the idiot that is in the White House right now, that has cut people off of their Medicaid, that is raising prices, that is absolutely insane. But what is Donald Trump doing in the meantime? Is he getting to work? Is he trying to stop the bleeding? Is he surrounding himself with actual experts instead of just sycophantic yes men? Oh, you would be absolutely fucking wrong if you said, yeah, that's what he's doing. Nope. Donald Trump is on his broke down social media platform threatening the Washington Commanders, the NFL team, saying that he's not going to approve a stadium deal unless they go back to their racist name of the Washington Redskins. And this is what Donald Trump is doing to distract against the fact that his base is cracking up over his reluctance to, release the Epstein files. Donald Trump is going back to his greatest hits of racism and stirring the pot and distraction. Except I'm starting to think, friends, and I don't know, maybe it's wishful thinking, that 10 years into Trumpism, 10 years in, that people have finally caught on to the bullshit, that they finally see the fucking patterns that Donald Trump does. He comes in, he blows shit up. He tells you it's amazing. It's actually not. People push back. He throws a little racism in. He throws a little misogyny in. He threatens Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, runs the hits for his base, except he's a washed up fucking rock star who's playing the best jukebox hits. And we're like, change the fucking record. This is what Donald Trump is finding himself doing. On top of which, again, so that he can change the news cycle, Donald Trump has decided to repost an AI video of Barack Obama being arrested. Projection much? But here's what he's trying to distract you from, just in case you feel like your head is on a swivel like I do most goddamn days. Rolling Stone, shut the fuck up. Inside Trump's frantic, failing mission to crush the Epstein MAGA rebellion. The president and his administration are telling supporters to forget about the convicted sex offender. It isn't working. It was a week from hell that nearly broke Donald Trump's administration. By the time it was over, the president had sustained more blowback and political damage for his administration's handling of the Epstein files than he did from bombing Iran last month. Oh, that's comforting. This week was a big kick in the balls. A senior administration official bluntly notes, it was a lot to deal with, and there were many emotions. The end is nowhere in sight. As the president's supporters from MAGA influencers and Republican politicians continue to raise hell over the Justice Department's memo announcing the administration's belief that Epstein killed himself in prison and that it was effectively closing its case on the sex offender and accused sex trafficker. The melodrama has clearly eaten away at the notoriously mercurial president's patience. The man was said to have thrown ketchup at the wall during the January 6th insurrection because people were telling him to call in help for the police. Have you seen Donald Trump's temper? Anyway, they won't shut the fuck up about it, Trump privately vented, referring to conservative influencers and media types lashing out over the Epstein memo, according to a source with direct knowledge of the matter. Of course, they're not going to shut the fuck up. You're the one that was feeding them conspiracy theories for the last 10 years. You did this. And now all of a sudden, you have Republicans out doing their best tap dance, doing their best fucking razzle dazzle, trying to convince us that, oh no, it was Biden that did it, when it was Donald Trump's Justice Department that picked up Epstein, when it was Donald Trump's Justice Department that he died under. Donald Trump has been using this as a cudgel for a decade. And now there are FBI reports of analysts having to go through the files, make Excel spreadsheets to note the number of times that Donald Trump was mentioned in the files. And guess what? It was open to everyone on a shared fucking drive. Those are reports that are coming out today. So what does that tell you? If I have to create an Excel spreadsheet in order to keep track of the number of times that Donald Trump was mentioned in the Epstein files, what does that tell you? He won't ever release them because he's all over it like his cheap fucking suits. He's all over it like he is McDonald's on a regular basis. He's holding on for dear life like his socks are to his fucking cankles. So what I predict is that Donald Trump is going to get increasingly more violent, that Donald Trump's rhetoric is going to increasingly become unhinged, even more so than it already is, that the arrests and the violence against undocumented people, against migrants, against everyone is going to be ratcheted up. All so that he can change the fucking headlines and change the story. And like Ron Wyden, Senator Ron Wyden said, highest ranking Democrat on Senate Finance Committee, follow the fucking money. Epstein was running a multi-billion-dollar sex trafficking ring. Donald Trump is all fucking over it. Not to mention the biggest banks in the country, other political leaders, celebrities, tech bros, etc. Everyone is a part of this. So when you have people like a Nancy fucking Pelosi that are telling us that this is nothing more than a distraction, bitch, who you covering for? Because we all know that you don't know how to optimize a moment. So who are you covering for? And I said this a bunch of times. I don't care who is on that list. I don't care if it's like, I don't care. If it's Christ himself, if there is anyone that is on that list, they deserve to be fucking exposed for the vile, disgusting predators that they are. And all of the people who have protected and enabled their predator ability, folks, should be aired the fuck out, regardless of who it is. So miss me with the bullshit. And you know what's funny? So, and this is probably going to get lost under the radar because it's okay for everyone else to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. That's also made a new appearance on, on Donald Trump's greatest hits. Why are you talking about the Epstein files? You need to go down and talk about the laptop from hell and this, that, and the other thing. But anytime, right, that Hunter Biden has tried to speak out on his own behalf or his father's behalf, he's always been shut down because no one listens to an addict, a former addict. And look, he ain't fucking perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but he ain't destroying the country or the world in the way that Donald Trump is. I want you to take a listen to how he fucking reads the establishment Democrats in this clip, and rightfully so, about what they did to his father and what they're just currently doing to the country. This is so good.
But fuck him. Fuck him and everybody around him. Or not to be fucking nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. Fucking George Clooney is not a fucking actor. He is a fucking, I don't know what he is. He's a brand. And by the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends really well. You know what I mean? Buys them things. And he's got a really great place in Lake Como. And he's great friends with Barack Obama. Fuck you. What do you have to do with fucking anything? Why do I have to fucking listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his fucking life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the fucking New York Times to me and James Carville, who hasn't run a race in 40 fucking years, and David Axelrod, who had one success in his political life, and that was Barack Obama. And that was because of Barack Obama, not because of fucking David Axelrod. And David Plouffe, and all of these guys, and the Pod Save America guys, who were junior fucking speechwriters on Barack Obama's Senate staff, who have been dining out on the relationship with him for years, making millions of dollars. The Anita Dunns of the world, who's made $40-50 million off the Democratic Party. They're all going to insert their judgment over a man who has figured out, unlike anybody else, how to get elected to the United States Senate over 7 times, how to pass more legislation than any president in history, how to have a better midterm election than anybody in history, and how to garner more votes than any president that has ever run. And they're going to replace their judgment for his.
Not to mention...
Who's Jake Tapper's audience? Jake Tapper...
My mom or something? I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
For real, though. I don't even think it's your mom anymore.
No.
By the numbers, what influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news. And beyond that, I think that the book is right now on Amazon that he put out. I mean, his ratings just went to shit after he put the book out. You know, they did a 2-week infomercial for it. I mean, it was such a money grab, such a disservice to everybody that he serves with.
I mean, Hunter Biden came with receipts, okay? He came with receipts, and there was nothing that he said that I was like, well, that's not true, or, oh, that's not right. When he opens up and he's talking about George Clooney, he's talking about George Clooney coming out last summer to say that his father, Joe Biden, a 52-year public servant, shouldn't run for the presidency, that he doesn't have George Clooney's vote. And Hunter Biden's like, who the fuck is George Clooney? What public service has he ever fucking done or offered? But because he's an actor and a businessman, that all of a sudden we should be listening to George fucking Clooney? And he's like, and all of these other people that have made their careers off of one success that they had around Barack Obama. What else the fuck have you done? You're talking about James Carville. When was the last time James Carville won a race? I think that it might have been at the beginning of the 20th fucking century. Because that's how old he is. Folks, like, that clip to me was like beyond. Because everything that he said, he hit every fucking note that needed to be hit about whose voice inside of the Democratic establishment matters, who is lifted up, and who was thrown to the fucking wolves. Now, we all have thoughts about when Joe Biden should have left the race, which I believe that Joe Biden from the beginning said that he was going to be a transitional president, and he should have spent the 4 years not only safeguarding our democracy, safeguarding our economy, but putting Kamala Harris and others in the limelight, right? Lifting them up so that we had decisions to make. And we knew that we had decisions to make, that he came in to do a job to stabilize, but then was passing the baton. But the way in which they threw that man out to the wolves, it was disgusting. And for somebody that had dedicated his entire life to public service to be treated in the manner that he was gross. And so for Hunter Biden, all honesty, to go fucking scorched earth the way that he's been treated and vilified over these fucking autocrats and fascists and the Nazi fucking family of Trump, give me a break. He ain't saying nothing but the truth. So bravo, Hunter, for speaking on behalf of your dad. But I got to tell you that I am so very sick to death of establishment Democrats. I said it today on Democracy-ish. You know, I'm over them. They've been given opportunity after opportunity to create a resistance, to know what it means to win, to see figures like Zoran Mamdani, to see the crowds of Bernie Sanders and AOC, to lift up voices like Jasmine Crockett and others, and they choose not to. All to the benefit of their donors at the expense of the American people. And then want us, while they're throwing out crumbs, to be excited for it. Meanwhile, you have folks like Zoran Mamdani who literally have their finger on the pulse. And Democrats right now can't figure out whether they should embrace him or not.
Politician means listen, not just to your supporters, but your critics too. And some of these critics, especially on a certain website, have been giving me consistent advice. For example, at SamWhite087, Zoran, go back to Uganda, where you come from and belong. At Teflon Gone, loser, go back to Africa. There are thousands like this from across the country. I hear you. And I agree. I'm going back to Uganda. I'm headed there in a personal capacity to celebrate Rama and I's marriage with our family and friends. But I do want to apologize to the haters, because I will be coming back. And since you will undoubtedly read about this trip in the New York Post, inshallah on the front page, here are a few of my humble suggestions for headlines. MIA, Mamdani in Africa. Uganda miss me. He's completely crazy. He can't be serious. Carl Kampala-Neely investigates Mamdani. Zoe running away.
Why you wouldn't capitalize off of the brilliance that is this man's campaign, I don't know. Instead, you want to pay inside the Beltway consultants to figure out how to talk to single American men or Sam. You want to spend $20 million to do what Mamdani is showing you how to fucking do for free. It's incredible to me. And it spells the fact that, yeah, you want to lose. Or as you know, uh Waj always, uses this George Carlin quote, like it's a big old club and you ain't in it unless Democrats are just in on the gag, right? Republicans play their part of tough guys and alpha men. Democrats play their part in fake resistance and, kente cloth and kneeling. And they laugh all the way to the bank at the expense of the American people. And I'm tired of those that want to cosplay leadership. I would actually just fucking like people to actually fucking lead. I closed out today with actually something just nice and good. Folks, you always ask me on Town Hall Tuesdays or whenever I manage to do town halls during the week, what do I do for fun? Like, what are my interests outside of politics? And I will tell you that one of the things that has been a new interest over the last 2 years has been the WNBA. I love basketball. I love watching women play. I love the skills. I love their passion. I love the vibe. I love the fact that the WNBA is 70% Black women and women of color. I love the fact that they are now apologetically queer, when for so long they had been denied the ability to show up as themselves because they were told that, guess what? Corporate money wouldn't show, right? Viewership wouldn't show. Show up for Black women, show up for queer women, show up for women in general. And this past weekend was the WNBA All-Star weekend, and it was fucking incredible. Nonstop content creation from stud buds, Courtney Williams and Natisha Heidemann, who play for the Minnesota Lynx, and they're two Black, masculine-presenting queer women that were in their complete and total Black joy over the weekend. And everyone got to see a behind-the-scenes look into it. I wrote about it and I did a video on it that is up now on my Substack at the Damn Digest. So if you're interested in a little break from politics and you want a little tidbit of culture and the happenings that took place, because the WNBA for me is a total, it's the beauty of when politics meets culture, meets activism in all of the right ways is what the WNBA is. And so I have a video that is up right now, Beyond the Court, how the WNBA All-Star Weekend just rewrote history. So do consider checking it out. As always, dear friends, I am so grateful for your contributions. This is people-powered media. I do not take money from corporations. I am fueled through all of you. So I want to thank Ernst, as always, for your just generosity. Douglas, thank you so much. LB, every single dollar counts. Star Child, thank you so very much. I appreciate every dollar, every cent, because it helps me be able to deliver you the kind of content that you deserve on a regular basis. And so if you don't have the ability to provide monetary contributions, please like, comment, and subscribe. I am less than 100 subscribers away from 28,000 subscribers. So if you have not hit the little bell and hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode and never miss any of the content that I'm putting out, please do subscribe. And if you are wanting to find a way to support me on a regular basis, do head over to my Substack where this is airing right now. Consider becoming a subscriber there and consider becoming a paid subscriber if you can. It goes a long way to support those of us that are dedicated to independent media, to truth telling, and from your lips to God's ears, 30,000 by September would be amazing. It would be amazing. I want to thank you all for showing up. Today, I will be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, and we will have Town Hall Tuesday. Until then, my dear friends, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will see you back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Be well.